Hey guys, so before we get into the show, we wanted to take a second. Jason David Frank was an actor that played Tommy, the Green Ranger and White Ranger on the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Jason David Frank brought a lot of happiness and great memories to our lives growing up. And especially getting to see him at conventions and a bunch of different other things there. A couple of years ago, he took his life. And the world does not have Jason David Frank anymore. And the world is worse off for it. And so we wanted to take a moment and take the front of this show to say, you matter. All of you matter. If you're going through anything, stuff's hard, things look like they're not going to shape up or get better, there's light at the end of those tunnels, guys. Reach out to somebody, talk to somebody. It helps. We care about you.
We care. You're important.
We care. You matter.
We care. You need to be around.
We care. The national hotline here in the States is 988. Please, please reach out to someone. We care and always will.
Thank you for listening. Let's talk about Power Rangers. Welcome to episode 16 of The Hills Have Nerds, the only podcast that's guaranteed to solve all the problems in your life and fix your relationship with your estranged father. And here's how. All you have to do is... Wait a minute. What's happening?
Aaron, what did you do?
It tickles.
We're being teleported or something.
Alpha. There's a distinct lack of self-important commentary on nerd culture in today's podcast. Recruit 5 hillbillies in their 30s with way too much free time.
Ay, 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 ay!
Well, I'm going to assume everyone's able to guess what the topic is today. Today, we're talking about the Power Rangers. Now, we're going to focus on the Mighty Morphin versions in this episode. Those were the first to hit the American airwaves, and they're the ones we all grew up pretending to be while we karate'd the hell out of each other in the backyard. As always, I'm one of your hosts, Josh, and joining me is Aaron.
Hello.
Lee.
Howdy.
Cody.
Howdy ho.
And for the first time on an episode, we have Travis, the editor.
Oh, God. They let me out of the editing dungeon, everybody.
I forgot to lock it. I'm sorry.
What have we done?
He had one job, man.
Oh, it's fine. I'm so shackled at the ankles.
That's what we do here at the Hills Have Nerds. We make lemonade out of lemons. When our indentured servants get out of their rooms, some would call them cages, we call them rooms.
They are very spacious.
Yeah. Let them come on and breathe a little bit because we are just that benevolent. Those boys over at Critical Encounters could learn a thing or two.
Who's the real villains here?
Not us. Not us. It's been a while since we've done, an actual, like dive into something episode. Usually the past few have been like media. We did the media catch up, and we've got our one on digital versus physical. Wasn't so much, a history lesson as it was what we felt. So I'm excited to get into the background of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. What do you guys think?
Heck yeah.
So is it anything like the big bad Beetleborgs?
No.
No, nor Mystic Knights of Tiernanog.
Darn, that was another one I had wrote down.
There were how many were there? There was what? Mystic Knights of Tiernanog.
Oh, there was a bunch. I just only had like 6 wrote down.
Big Bad Beetleborgs.
VR Troopers.
Are these all like spin-offs, or are they just fakes, or
No, they're knockoffs.
Yeah. It's just Power Ranger like.
There was
shows.
VR Troopers, Superhuman Samurai Cyber Squad.
Yeah.
The Ginyu Force from Dragon Ball Z, of course. And then Tattooed Teenage Alien Fighters from Beverly Hills.
That was
definitely don't.
that was how Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was first pitched, and then they decided
No,
to pop it off.
Tattooed teenage alien fighters from Beverly
Yeah, I
Hills.
can hear
I
now.
ref-
Tattooed teenage, whatever he said.
I refuse to believe that's not D-list porn.
I have no idea what it is. It was just one of those that popped up whenever I searched for a list, and it showed up in DBZ abridged. So
Holy crap!
Fun fact.
came out in '94 in America.
Fun fact, just because that got brought up. This has nothing to do with Power Rangers, but fun fact time. Did you all know that Nintendo legally owns Mario porn because there were two made and Nintendo bought it so it could never be sold again?
Yep, I did know that actually.
The more you know.
Well, I mean,
He was trying to find it,
What quality is it?
Hold on.
How is it?
Well, it has a really famous actor in it. What's that guy's name? Like think about old
Ron Jeremy?
Ron
That's
Jeremy?
him. I think he plays Mario actually.
Well, we are
Anyway.
35 seconds into the Power Rangers
Derailed.
episode, and we've dedicated a solid portion of that to pornography.
I don't know
If
why
you listen to
you
this one, I'm
expected
sorry.
anything else.
Oh my god!
Anyways, Power Rangers, right?
I love you guys so much. All right,
Let's
Power
get to
Rangers.
Morphin. Get to Morphin.
Today we're going to talk about the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. It was a show that debuted on August 28th, 1993 on Fox Kids. And if you are in your late 20s, mid to late 30s, anywhere between 20, 27 and 40, and you don't know what Power Rangers is, man, you were under a rock. I'm just saying. Because Mighty Morphin Power Rangers was everywhere. This is the dudes in like the motorcycle kind of helmets looking like ninjas fighting putties and giant monsters and stuff like that.
So, confession here. I know what it is. I have watched maybe 2 episodes, if that.
You
So
didn't
I
watch Power
know.
Rangers when you were a kid?
No. I know literal nothing about it. Like whenever I said I didn't know the character names and you sent me that, it's because I seriously didn't know any of them. Aaron was like, "Who's the Rita Repulsa?" I was like, "I have no idea." And he told me about the meme of her exploding out and was like, "I've been held for 1,000 years or whatever." It's like, okay, I've seen the memes and at least recognize her if I see her, but I never would have placed it.
That blows my mind. Lee, did
know.
you watch? Aaron, you watched?
Oh, absolutely. I watched all the way through up to space, I believe. That's where I watched. So yeah, I watched.
Yeah, I specifically remember being in, I think it was first grade, and the teacher would turn on like Barney in the morning, and then one day she turned on Power Rangers in first grade, and I was like, "What is this?" And it was awesome. I loved it for a long time, and I've before there's any spinoffs, I just watched like the original series and enjoyed that. Play with the toys and whatever else. My friends had a lot of the toys growing up. I didn't have a lot of those. Like I wasn't into it so much as to get those. I was still into like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and such, so I was getting those toys instead. But yeah, definitely familiar with it.
I did watch the Turtles though.
Travis, you're a giant Power Rangers fan, right? Lee? That's
That's
the reason we're here, right?
I mean,
the
pretty
reason we're
much,
doing
like,
this episode.
to give like a bit of context to everybody listening, this was in the infancy of this podcast. Excuse me. We were kind of just detailing out episodes, and Josh was like, "Yeah, we got to get you on one of those." And then it was just this moment where it was just like, "I know what we got to do. We got to do Power Rangers." And I was just like, "Yeah, absolutely."
I loved Power Rangers growing up. Like, again, me and my buddies, we'd be down in, there's a giant like field kind of in the bottom near where I grew up. And we'd go out there and we would just beat the crap out of each other, and I always wanted to be the monster. We had, you had like guys that would fight to be the Black Ranger, or the Blue Ranger, or the Red Ranger. And then, we had one dude that always wanted to be the Pink Ranger. And well, he's happy now. That's what I always say.
Hey, you didn't need to call me out like that, all right?
But it was great, man. It was absolutely amazing sitting there and then playing Power Rangers. So anybody that's listening now that doesn't know what Power Rangers is, we're going to tell you what Power Rangers is. So Mighty Morphin Power Rangers debuted August 28th, 1993 on Fox Kids. It went for 3 seasons. There were 3 seasons of Mighty Morphin. Each season had like 30 to 50 episodes. And if you don't know Power Rangers, you probably know the Power Rangers theme. It's composed by Ron Wasserman. That when I hear the Power Rangers theme, man, I could kick a door off its hinges.
What's that meme? It's like, who is it? There's a country artist. They sing a song
Shania
that
Twain.
opens up, like the Let's Go Girls. Like,
Yeah.
the Power Rangers theme is the male equivalent of that.
Oh yeah. Like, I mean, it gets hot. Like I listen to it. So prepping for the show, you know, doing some research, listening to some stuff on, you know, the history of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, just different Power Rangers. And I had the theme song playing in the car quite a few times. And I find myself like driving faster when I was listening to it.
Especially when
I
that guitar
really don't need to be doing that.
like guitar part comes in. It's like,
Oh yeah.
I don't need to
It's
be
so
driving
good.
90.
You just imagined you were part of the Turbo Rangers. That's all it was.
Mighty Morphin only. We're purists here. None of that. Misery.
Well, I'm sorry to disappoint you, Josh, but as the resident Power Rangers nerd, I'm probably going to reference a few of the other series.
Oh,
I
I
am the
got them
purest
listed
of
here.
pure.
I got them listed here. We are going to name all of them
Yeah.
at one point. And I have a list of it. So, but let's talk about Mighty Morphin. So again, this featured 5 quote unquote teenagers with attitude. In the opening crawl, we get Zordon, who is this giant, floating head.
originally, yeah, that's
Right.
all we saw was him and the giant floating head and the giant tube.
Yeah. And so the opening theme is Rita Repulsa, who's this evil wizard lady, has erupted from this canister that some astronauts found on the moon, right?
It was a trash. It was like a trash canister.
It was a space dumpster. She was sealed away in a space dumpster, I think by Zordon for 10,000 years.
10,000 years. And these astronauts that were on the moon found her.
Yep.
Right?
Yep, they found her, they unsealed her, and then, you know, she goes into her whole spiel. Again, if you've not watched the series, you won't recognize the monologue that she does, but she pops out and in her very Frieza from Dragon Ball Z-esque voice is like,
After 10,000 years, I'm free! It's time to conquer Earth!
She erupts from this dumpster, and the first thing she's like, I'm going to fuck up Earth.
Yeah.
So going is on site.
Well, I mean, we deserve it, you know.
And so Zordon, sorry, Aaron, you were going to say something?
Oh yeah, I was the cool part. If I remember right, Travis, you probably correct me if I'm wrong. That's the same actor for the original Japanese was actually the actor for Rita, and she like learned English so she could do the part.
Wow, that's awesome.
That I will actually have to look up because I don't actually know.
There's a little bit of that when we get into like how it was filmed and what they use, and I got some of that in the show notes of how they edited some clips and.
Let's see, I'm sure I'm getting ahead of I'm getting ahead of myself, but
oh, you're good.
But
All
yeah,
right.
go.
So Rita erupts from the dumpster, and then you have this image of Zordon talking to his little robot buddy Alpha 5, and it just this iconic line: Alpha, recruit 5 teenagers with attitude. Rita has escaped. Recruit teenagers with attitude. Like that's what we need.
Well, luckily the Sega Genesis is on the scene, and so attitude is in abundance.
Attitude is everywhere.
This evil intergalactic villain that is set to destroy a planet has erupted forth. Go get me some pissed off kids.
We need 5 teenagers. We need 5 teenagers with attitude and blast processing.
So it's pretty much all set in this. It's a fictional town, right? Angel Grove, California, where all the monsters show up in Angel Grove, California. So I got featured 5 teenagers with attitude in the town of Angel Grove, California, recruited by a floating head named Zordon as that sidekick Alpha 5 to fight back the recently escaped from space pod prison Rita Repulsa. And Rita's got all these army of minions, and she's got all these different guys with her. So what? There's some recurring bad guys. There's Goldar, right? That's one of the big. He's got like He's kind
He's
of her
got-
flying monkey almost. She's got a
Yeah.
Wicked Witch of the West feel to her.
Oh yeah, very much so. Very much so. I guess I'll get to that later. Just continue with your thing because I'm about to spout off.
Yeah.
Let's get through this intro.
She got Goldar, he's gold and he's got wings. Goldar.
Who's my favorite?
Does he have R's?
He's like
Yeah, 2 of them, I think. Doesn't he?
he's got one.
Is it one?
He's got one. Goldar. Goldar.
Yep,
He's like this
Goldar.
sphinx looking thing with he's got a sword. He's like the most
Yeah.
competent of her minions, I think.
Goldar was my favorite mainly because of his voice.
I
love
would.
that. Goldar.
Oh yeah, freaking. Rita Repulsa, I will do whatever for you, my queen.
That is so good.
I thought Goldar was here with us.
Well,
I thought he was in the room.
if we're going to talk about any of her competent ones, and again, the term is used very lightly, I would say it was Finster.
Oh, the guy who made the
And
putties.
who's Finster? So let's go down the
Finster,
list of her people.
I don't know what race he was supposed to be. He, like, Space Dog is the best way to describe it. He kind of reminds me of the dragon from Neverending Story.
Yeah, he looked like if you
but
combined the dragon with like Geppetto.
Yeah, basically, yeah. That's actually a really good way to describe it. But Rita has this army of what she calls her putties, and they're just your run of the mill. They don't even talk; they just sit there and like flap their lips at you. They show up and they're just like, But Finster was kind of the one who designed all the putties. But Finster also makes all the bigger monsters that the Rangers fight.
And then she also had Squat and Babu, right? And those were kind of the comic relief, like bumbling dudes. Squat reminded me, or is it Babu? Babu was the one that kind of looked like Beast from X-Men.
Babu's
had, like, the
the
monocle.
Yeah,
tall, lanky one who looks more like a monkey.
Yeah.
Squat
And
was the
then-
one with all the spikes.
Yeah, Squat looks like my toilet after Taco Bell.
That was
You should probably
unnecessary.
see a doctor.
Yeah.
Travis not doing very well in his first outing. Making note of that. Made toilet joke immediately. Let's
The dungeons call him back.
And see, this is what happens when you don't let me out of my editing cage.
So these 5 teenagers with attitude fought the Rita Repulsa and her army of minions back with the power of friendship, weapons, power bikes, guns, and giant as hell dinosaur robots.
Yeah. Power of friendship and weapons.
They did. They had guns. They all
Oh,
had like special
100%.
weapons.
I will be able to win this with the power of friendship and this gun I found.
They were always like a melee weapon that turned into a gun.
Yeah.
I remember the Black Rangers was a like an axe,
Yeah.
and the the Red Ranger was a sword, and I remember the Pink Rangers was like
bow.
Was it a
She had-
bow?
She had a bow. Yellow Ranger had daggers.
Oh, yeah, it
And
was the
then,
daggers.
The Blue Ranger had a staff,
Okay, I could not remember
like a
what it was.
trident type thing almost.
Yeah,
All I can think about is I seen a meme, and this is for Green Ranger later, but it was like I kept thinking about how the Green Ranger had a dagger that was a flute that sounded like a synthesizer that's trying to sound like a trumpet, and he blew into it with his helmet on.
I sold a working one of those to Nathan like 6 months ago. That was
the Green Ranger.
in our storage room forever. Yeah, he
He
had
sold
the
a
dragon.
working
flute.
Green Ranger.
So there was the green. So the original five were the Red Ranger, which was Jason Lee Scott was the character's name. The Pink Ranger, Kimberly Hart.
Yeah.
The Black Ranger, Zach Taylor. We all know Zach Taylor.
Oh yeah.
Yellow Ranger, Trini Kwan, and the Blue Ranger, Billy Cranston. And each of the Rangers Zordon gave them a power coin, which connected them to what, Travis? The grid, right? That's the grid where the Rangers, the morphing grid, where they draw their power from. And it gave them the powers of dinosaurs. Does anybody know what dinosaurs each person had the
I do.
power of?
Without
Dilophosaurus.
cheating notes.
What was the Red Ranger, Aaron?
Red Ranger was T-Rex.
What was the Pink Ranger?
The Pink Ranger was the pterodactyl.
Black Ranger.
Black Ranger was Mastodon. Blue Ranger was the Triceratops, and the Yellow Ranger was Sabretooth.
Yeah, the saber-toothed tiger.
Yep.
How about it was Dilophosaurus? Losers.
There was no Dilophosaurus. There was a Bronchiosaurus that they all attached to eventually later.
That was the Titanosaur. Now, hold on. That's later on.
Yeah, we're getting again.
And
Get ahead of
all of these dinosaurs they'd call on, and they could jump into and pilot like giant robots, right?
Yeah.
Dude, they struck gold. The more you think about this, we're going to have some kids with attitudes. This dumpster woman's going to try to take over the world.
Oh,
We have robot dinosaurs.
Just Fox kids just rubbing money from toys on.
So I
It was like, and a thing to note about that was like, it wasn't even just the fact that, it's like this robot dinosaur, because what kid doesn't love dinosaurs and what kid doesn't love robots? But it wasn't just the fact that it was like, you get this cool robot dinosaur, you get this cool, robotic elephant. It was the fact that they all combined.
Yeah.
And then you got something even cooler, which was the Megazord.
Oh,
Like Voltron.
I'm sure somebody sat around and was like, we need a new show. What can we do? Kids like dinosaurs. Sure. What else they like? Robots. All right. They like them when they combine. Cool. They like guns. Okay, cool. Let's do that.
So
And
I'm
there
gonna
was
make
It
a
just
note.
kind of sounds like Turok too.
Okay, I'm gonna make a note. We're gonna come back to something here in a second when we get into like where the idea of Power Rangers came from, because I want to do a little bit more background on what the hell we're talking about. The Power Rangers are.
Remind me.
I come in.
I have more useless tidbit information about the dinosaurs, about the Zoids.
I have plenty
Oh,
of useless
Zord.
information, but it's not about Power Rangers. So.
Not Zoids, Aaron.
Yeah.
Zoids is something different.
know.
That's
I'm gonna
different giant robots.
I'm gonna try my best not to say Zoids because I keep wanting to say Zoids, even though I know it's Zords.
I mean,
at
that's
least when-
practically what they are. Let's be real.
At least when I said Voltron, it was another combining robot thing.
All right, so
combine.
there were
I don't
five.
know. I didn't watch
What
Voltron
is it?
either.
Voltron was a bunch of different, like tigers. They were all tigers, and they combined into.
See, it's still
Voltron.
combining robots.
Yeah, they were combining robots. 110%. But we're not talking about Voltron, damn it. We're talking about Power Rangers. So they fought off giant monsters sent by Rita, and then later Lord Zed, who was like Rita's on again, off again boyfriend, and he's the guy like the red dude with like, and he looked evil, right? Like Lord Zed looked cool.
Oh yeah, well it was like his muscles were on the outside.
Yeah, he's all fleshy with like this kind of iron running through him. He looked like if you turned Wolverine inside out.
Yeah, he had like metal claws on his fingertips.
And they would send down these monsters, and the Power Rangers would fight them, fist fight and stuff, fight the monsters. And then inevitably they would make them grow giant. And then it would be on, oh, it's time to get the Zords, time to turn into the Megazord where they combine and then fight, right?
Yeah.
Make my monster grow.
Yeah. Yeah. There were some crazy ass
I think that
monsters.
goes back to Ron Jeremy there.
Oh, no.
I knew
There
we'd
were-
link it back somehow. Power
Full
Rangers
circle.
starts with a P, porn starts with a P.
There were some like very suggestive monsters. There was the giant, the cockatrice
Oh yeah.
with the two heads and that. And there was the lipstick. You guys remember the lipstick?
Oh,
The what?
God.
It was a lipstick monster. That's the only way I
It's
can.
just
I mean,
a-
I'll put.
Giant stick of lips? Like,
It,
okay.
it was an anthropomorphic lipstick. It had like it was like a lipstick head on like a body. And hold on, I'm gonna pull up a picture of it right here. Lipstick monster Power Rangers. Right here. It's like a bondage lipstick. Lip Syncer was its name.
Lip sync.
And,
Yeah.
Hold on, I'm gonna send this into
Okay.
Discord so you guys can see this into the Discord channel. And then we'll post a link to this in the show notes because everybody needs to see this.
Everyone
talk-
else needs to be traumatized as well, you know?
So it's in the chat channel for this voice channel we're in. If you guys want to go look at that, I just posted it. That's the Lip Syncer, one of the Power Rangers villains. And I know that that's kind of a stylized version, but the real version's not much different. It's got two
Yeah.
extended lipsticks on its
Alright.
shoulder, and the top of it kind of looks like if you did Pyramid Head at a drag show.
No,
I was just
that's
kind of honestly, with some of the image I've seen from the show, I was just expecting like somebody just put somebody in a lipstick costume and stuck their arms and legs out of it and was running around.
That's
It's
just
not
the
that
next
much-
JoJo enemy, like for real though.
Oh,
No,
yeah,
like an
100%.
actual tube of lipstick, and that was the costume.
So there were some crazy monsters.
Some of those costumes are not far off from that.
But just to give a little bit of perspective as to where Mighty Morphin lies, and because Power Rangers is still going on, like there are current episodes of the Power Rangers. It's not Mighty Morphin anymore.
No,
Mighty
it's
Morphin. What is
currently
it?
called Power Rangers Cosmic Fury.
Yeah. So I got all of them right here. There's been 22 different iterations of the Power Rangers. So there was Mighty Morphin, Zeo, Turbo, Power Rangers in Space, Lost Galaxy, Lightspeed Rescue, Time Force, Wild Force, Ninja Storm, Dino Thunder, SPD, which I assume means Power Rangers Speed, Mystic Force, Operation Overdrive, Jungle Fury, RPM, not to be confused with SPD, which is completely different.
SPD stood for Special Police Deka Ranger.
It was Space Patrol Delta.
Did they have cars?
Potentially. Let me go
Did they
back.
have cars at one point? But anyway, so
Well,
it's Speed.
Maybe we'll get there.
There's SPD, Space Patrol Delta. I think that's Speed. Mystic Force, Operation Overdrive, Jungle Fury, RPM, Samurai, Mega Force, Dino Charge, Ninja Steel, Beast Morphers, Dino Fury, and then finally, currently, it's Cosmic Fury. And there's been almost 30 seasons of Power Rangers.
Oh yeah.
There was one other for Megaforce. There was Super Megaforce. For a
Oh,
while.
dude, there's a ton of those. There was like Super Mega Force. So when you get into Samurai, there was Samurai, Super Samurai, Mega Force, Super Mega Force, Dino Charge, Super Dino Charge, Ninja Steel, Super Ninja Steel, and then it went on to Beast Morphers, Dino Fury. And I saw that when I was writing it down. I was like, I'm not saying all that. 'cause
And Ninja Stars too.
You also had the Alien Rangers, which was during
Isn't that one of these?
toward the end of the Mighty Morphin. No, you didn't say Alien. It was during the third season of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. They actually had the Alien Rangers coming.
Yeah, that was before they went Zeo. That was because there's a couple like sub versions in
Yeah.
Mighty Morphin because they went that at one point in Mighty Morphin. That's where they were the Ninja Rangers, right? Where they had the Thunder Zord.
Yeah, that was right after the movie came out.
Yeah, that was Ivan Ooze killed everything, and
Yeah.
there's a Power Rangers movie. We'll talk about that. We're just focusing on the show. All right, so 5 main Rangers, and then we get a 6th Ranger because Rita Repulsa wanted her own evil Ranger, and did she create Tommy or take over Tommy?
So in the original, in Mighty Morphin at that, Tommy was just a kid. He was new to Angel Grove. It was something along the lines of that cliche of like, he's got evil in his heart. I can use him. And she essentially just brainwashed him, and kind of just made him her own Ranger that she could do whatever. And he was shown to be like more powerful than the entire team could ever hope to be.
Yeah,
In
I
fact,
remember watching, man. Like he whooped them all, right?
yeah. Oh, there's one episode that I remember watching, and it's one of the coolest moments in the entire show where Rita uses her powers to make Tommy grow in size, and Tommy, not like his Zord, which we'll get to, but Tommy himself takes down the Megazord.
Well, there's one where like they're in the Megazord and it's the guys out there listening. If you have not seen like cuts of the combat in Power Rangers, do yourself a favor, get on YouTube, watch some of this stuff because it's amazing. Tommy, from like a standing flat foot jump on the ground, leaps into the air, does like 14,000 somersaults, leaps 36 stories into the air, into the back of the Megazord, shows up in the cockpit, and all the Power Rangers are like, holy shit, how did he get in here? And just starts beating Howdy all through
It
that cartoon.
absolutely wrecks shop. And then he grows in size and just says, I'm the best.
Yeah.
Rita's like, oh my God, he's confident. Or he's competent.
No. Look at me. I'm the Power Ranger now.
Yeah, seriously though. And that's not even, like I mentioned earlier, that's not even mentioning his own Zord, which was the Dragon Zord, which is just the coolest designed Zord out of all of the Zords.
Which
It's
was
Godzilla.
it was more like Godzilla the Zord
It's
than
Godzilla.
a
That's
dragon, like
Yeah.
because it was
It's
just the T-Rex with like a smaller head and spikes on its back.
No, the T-Rex had like an angle to it, and the Dragon Zord was a little broader and like more Godzilla-esque.
It had a drill for a tail. It had rocket fingers. Pretty sure it could shoot lasers out of its chest piece.
Did it breathe fire?
I think at one point it breathed fire.
Yeah.
Cool side note, if anybody plays Arc 2, they did a crossover with Power Rangers, and you can get skins for your T-Rex and pterodactyls and saber-tooth tigers and mastodons in the game
That's cool.
to have the Power Rangers Zords in Arc 2. Buddy was showing me that the other day. That was neat. All right. So there's been a crap ton of Power Rangers has been going on for 30 years. It's still going. It was a huge hit. It was crazy popular. It's spawned thousands of spin-offs, some movies, comic books, tons of video games. We got again 30 years. So 1994, we're in 2024 now, 1993. So 31 years of Power Rangers. Actually, August 28th, September 20, 31 years in a month as of this episode coming out. Power Rangers. But where did it come? Like, who got the idea? Who made this? Who sat down and said, you know what children in America are going to love to see? Multicolored violence. That's what they need. Multicolored, chaotic violence.
I mean they weren't wrong.
I was going to say, like, to be fair, that was every cartoon back in those days.
Oh yeah. 100%.
We didn't mention the evil Power Ranger eventually gets won over by the power of friendship and becomes a good Power Ranger.
Yeah.
And the gun they had.
we found his weakness. It's a bullet.
That just reminds me. I mean, that's not Power Ranger, but it just reminds me of a thing from Metal Gear, where it's like, look at this Psycho Mantis. He can float and has all these psychic powers and control fire and all this. And Snake just walks in and is like, yeah, but you're not immune to bullets.
I mean, yeah. Got him there.
Then he reads your memory card and shakes your controller around. It was time.
Like the real
It was a
friendship.
different time.
Yeah.
It's a better time.
The real friendship is the bullets we found along the way.
So when you're talking about like who brought it over, I assume you're referring to Hayam Saban.
Bless you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Talking about Haim Saban, who was Haim Saban?
The guy who brought Power Rangers over.
Yeah, I don't know much about him other than he's a very devout Jew, and he littered Mighty Morphin with a ton of that. I believe, and I could be misremembering this, but I do remember this happening. They are fighting a monster, and the way that they finish off this monster, I think in the original they did it with a cross, but in Mighty Morphin they finished him off with the Star of David. that was a thing. And but you know, he Saban saw what Power Rangers came from, which we'll get to, and kind of just, you know, dollar signs in his eyes, like I can do something with this. I can absolutely make money off of this.
Real quick, before we get into that, I have a little bit of background on Haim Saban.
Okay.
So Haim Saban was born in Egypt to an Egyptian Jewish family in 1956 or in 1944. 1956, they immigrated to Israel, along with most of the Egyptian Jewish community. He served as a soldier in the Israel Defense Forces. He started a music career in 1966 as a bass player with the rock band The Lions of Judah.
Nice.
He traveled to England, performed in nightclubs, and that got signed to a record deal. And then they had a single, Our Love's a Growing Thing, which I'm going to link to the show notes so you can hear that. And so Saban then became a music producer. He moved back to Israel and started being a music producer because the band had some financial difficulties. And then later on, he became a television producer. He had some success as a music producer and became a television producer. And he founded Saban Entertainment in 1988. And then while he was, and then
clearly only had a mild success at that, huh?
mild success of that. But I thought that was neat that he was a bass player for a Jewish themed rock band. That's pretty cool. Toured around Europe, was a music producer, and then decided, you know what? Nah, let's make Power Rangers. Let's just go define a generation.
I mean, I think he made the right call.
I don't know. Clearly. Again, mild success, I guess.
How do I reach these kids?
Reach these kids. Well, he did it by being inspired while on a business trip to Japan by Super Sentai Rangers. And Travis, what's Super Sentai?
So Super Sentai is what Power Rangers spawned from, which Super Sentai also spawned from another series that you may or may not have heard of. It's never been localized. There are a few places where you can watch it subbed and things like that, but Sentai kind of came from a show known as Kamen Rider. And if you go back and you look at the early Sentai, like the first season of Super Sentai and things like that, their suits are very reminiscent of Kamen Rider because Kamen Rider had this insect theme going on with it. Like their helmets always had like the big buggy red eyes. And I think the first Kamen Rider, I don't know if this is exactly what he was based off of, but he's got like a very praying mantis style looking helmet. Yeah. And the Super Sentai gang also had these very bug-like helmets, but as the seasons went on, they started to go away from their inspiration in Kamen Rider and began to develop into their own thing, and essentially just became their own spin-off that I won't say was more successful than Kamen Rider, but just as successful. And that also kind of falls under this overarching branch known as tokusatsu, which essentially just translates to a show that uses a lot of practical effects and people in rubber suits.
Yeah, we talked about in our, I just about said our hentai episode, our anime episode.
What? Now the same thing.
Our anime episode. That's for the Hills Have Nerds After Dark.
Sentai.
We'll do a breakdown of the Ron Jeremy Mario and Sentai hentai. No, dear God in heaven. No. Okay. Anyway,
join us on our Patreon for the exclusive watch party where we marathon the Mario.
It's Power Rangers.
I'm going to be sick that day. You guys have fun.
We talk about Power Rangers IUD.
Anyways,
but we talked about
IUD,
on our
is that a bomb?
That's an IED. IUD. I'm not describing it's a prophylactic, Cody. IED is a dear God in heaven.
I didn't think this podcast could go any more off the rails, and then I show up for my first episode, and here we are.
This is just par for the course.
I'm just trying to be famous for Travis.
Anyway,
par for the course. I edit you all. I know what goes on.
Anyway, everybody shut up. Everybody shut the hell up. Anyway, like Travis said, tokusatsu is the Japanese term for live action media that made heavy use of practical special effects. And we talked about a lot of different names in Japanese culture for different versions of their TV shows or their anime or whatever they have you. And we went through a ton of those. And tokusatsu is just, another kind of delineation of live action for them. So like Kamen Rider, Power Rangers, Big Bad Beetleborgs, all that stuff is tokusatsu. Right?
Also, just to throw this in there in case people don't know what it means, and so I can use my film degree for once. Practical effects refers to any type of effect that is not computer generated and is done in-house. So when you're watching those, if you go and watch Power Rangers, like, the guy that's in the Megazord suit, that is just a dude. And they've got these like one, I don't know what scale it is, but they've
Hold
got
on
these,
1 second, Travis. 1 second. I just heard Lee laugh and I heard click, 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 click. Are you playing WoW right now?
No.
Yeah. So what I was laughing about was like, no, that's a real garbage can that Rita Skeeter's in or whatever.
It's an actual dumpster and just painted space on the side of it.
Yeah.
Sorry, Travis. Go ahead. I heard Lee's
just to say, they build these scaled down versions or whatever, and you see them fall into the buildings all the time, wreck shop, and just do that. That's what we mean by a practical effect. Is what they
one of my favorite examples of it is actually from Nightmare on Elm Street, and it's the original movie. Whenever I forgot her name. Anyway, she's laying in bed and like Freddy's like sticking through the wall, and like you see like the wall bending with him, and all they did was do like rubber over it and just let him actually stick his hands and everything and bend the wall like that.
It was really cool.
Yeah. And I mean, it still holds up. It actually looks better than the one they did in the remake, which was all CGI.
Well, I mean, Jurassic Park, a lot of the dinosaurs were practical effects.
Yep.
Like, were actually, like,
they were full on animatronics.
Yeah, they were just touched up with CGI and stuff later.
Yep.
Yeah.
So this is where my useless information comes in. I actually seen a thing of one of the prop designers for the Power Rangers, Mighty Morphin original series, came in and was talking. And apparently they didn't have like the models for the original Zords, not Zoids. The original Zords. And they actually had to go buy the toys. and paint them up and everything, and that's what they use for the Zords when they originally had them. Yeah,
Nancy, that was her name. Got it.
And so the reason for that, I don't think we've touched on it yet. We've kind of alluded at it, but Power Rangers, the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers show in the U.S. was interspersed with footage from Super Sentai Rangers. From which Super Sentai was it?
That would have been
Kyoryu Sentai Zuriyanger. You pronounce that, Travis. You're a weeb.
I mean, yeah. Really, you can just call it Zoo Ranger. That's pretty much what the series was based off of. Was Super Sentai Zoo Ranger. I've watched a few episodes of Zoo Ranger, and it's going to be different than what Mighty Morphin was, where the first half of every episode was your typical boy meets world high school drama, and then the second part of it is monster of the week, high octane, freaking go out and break sticks over your cousin's head. Zoo Ranger was kind of what started it out, and just to give like a general idea of like how different things are, there is no Zordon in Zoo Ranger. I forget his name now because it's been so long since I've seen it, but he's like a mage, and when you first see him in the show, he just looks like an old like janitor dude, like the guy that's been working at I don't know, Sears since he was like 15. And he looks up and sees Rita, who in that is just known as the evil witch Bandora.
Barza is the
counterpoint. Thank you.
Zoo Ranger.
Yeah. And he sees that, Bandora is back. and he goes off to this little cave area, and like he just, this is why I love some Japanese media for this stuff. All these stone doors are there, and he runs up to these stone doors with a freaking key ring, like a modern day key ring, and just opens all of the doors with just modern day keys. And this summons what was the original pitch for that? It was basically like he was pulling the best of these tribes, and there were separate tribes that worshipped each of the swords that we know now. So there was the Tyrannosaurus, the Mastodon, the Pterodactyl. And one of the funniest moments in that first episode is he tries to get the Red Ranger out, but the key breaks. And he's just like in the cave crying, like, oh no, I've sent them all off to their death. We're dead. And then there's a statue of the Tyrannosaurus, and he just sends a beam of light out, and then the door opens. And I'm like, well, what's the point of the key? Anyways. But also explains a bit of a discrepancy, because in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, we have 3 male characters and 2 female characters. But in Zoo Ranger, there's 4 male characters and 1 female. That is why the Yellow Ranger does not wear a skirt in Mighty Morphin, because that is actually a male in Zoo Ranger. But in every bit of media that is Mighty Morphin since then has always kept Trini without her skirt. She's just, for some reason, she just doesn't wear one. No explanation. She just doesn't wear one.
She didn't like it. She didn't want one.
Yeah. And there's a few other things about Zoo Ranger, if you want me to go into it. There's just small bits and pieces of details here and there.
Let's give a little bit of background on the Sentai Ranger again. So Sentai, like we said, it had the Zoo Ranger. It had what inspired Haim Saban was the Childinchi Bioman, which was another iteration of that. It was kind of the way, Power Rangers is now. It's kind of like an anthology series, right? Like it was not necessarily season, but each iteration of Super Sentai took place in its own kind of dimension or universe.
Yeah, it was its own canonicity, essentially.
And so it debuted, the first ever Super Sentai was in 1975, and that was Himitsu Sentai Goranger. And that ran for 2 years. And that was the beginning of Super Sentai in 1975. And then, 20 years later, we get Power Rangers. And Super Sentai is still going, right? Mm-hmm. That's still going too. It's got to have 48 different iterations. And I'm not naming all of them because I can barely pronounce any of them. But 48 different iterations of that stuff. That's crazy. You got other Zoo Ranger trivia, Travis? Drop it.
Really just a few other things.
No, you're on the spot now. It's got to be good, man. Everybody's looking.
So
one of the break Lee away from WoW.
One of the first things is, if you go and watch Power Rangers, you'll notice that Jason and Tommy, the Red Ranger and Green Ranger respectively, hang out a whole lot together, especially when they're in the Ranger forms. In Zoo Ranger, they were brothers. The Red Ranger and the Green Ranger were both brothers. And so that's why they were very much near each other a lot. And
they didn't use that same storyline, right? Like, again, Jason and Tommy in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, not brothers.
Yeah, no,
they
were
kind of
not
that
brothers.
Friendly rivalry once Tommy becomes a good guy. And then they've interspersed it with all this Zoo Ranger footage, and they've got to kind of like dub over it and make sure everything fits up and stuff.
And that's actually, so I guess, spoiler alert for this 30-year-old series, I guess. So in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, towards the end of that first season, I think it's towards the end of the first season. Anyways, the Tommy, who is the Green Ranger, loses his powers and eventually becomes the White Ranger. I'll get into that in a second because that's a whole other can of worms. Well, in Zoo Ranger, the Green Ranger outright dies.
Yeah.
Bandora has lit a candle, and when that candle burns through its wick, the Green Ranger just straight out dies. So one of the things that they do in Zoo Ranger is the Green Ranger lives in this cave off from everybody else that enhances his lifespan, keeps him alive for longer.
Now, they had the candle in Mighty Morphin, didn't they?
Yes, and the candle was rewritten to be when Tommy would lose his powers.
Okay. Yeah, that's what.
Yeah, definitely do that too.
Yeah. But you'll notice
one way.
in Power Rangers, like whenever Tommy gets brought in to like the fight, he's never with the Rangers. Like he's always off doing his own thing. And that was their way of tying in the fact that, you know, the original Green Ranger was just in this cave trying to prolong his lifespan as long as he could. And he was always away from the fight. So that was kind of their way of bridging things, as it were. And then you get into the whole White Ranger thing, which if you want me to get into that, I'll get into that because that's a whole other topic.
Sure, we got time. Go for it. So the White Ranger is what Tommy became after. So Tommy is the Green Ranger who was evil, and then he became good, and he had the Dragon Zord. Then the candle went down, and he lost his powers, and then he became the White Ranger. And how did he become the White Ranger?
In Power Rangers, Zordon basically just tells him that, like, well, you were already kind
it's like
of
Gandalf in the Balrog, right? Like
it's pretty much. Actually, funnily enough, it talks about this in the Power Rangers tabletop core rulebook, which I still need to learn how to run that system. But essentially, and I hate saying it like this. I really do. I hope no one thinks bad of me for saying it like this. In the morphing grid, you know, all the colors exist on a spectrum. Well, white is considered to be a part of the advanced spectrum. And so Tommy,
Hey, they said that about me too.
Aaron's on the spectrum.
I was waiting for it. Yeah, all of us are. Let's be real. So
I don't know if I can call any of us advanced.
Yeah, well,
yeah. So Zordon basically is just kind of like, well, you did really well as the Green Ranger. I might be able to like tap into my powers and give you some Ranger powers. They're more, you know, they're further along in the morphin grid than what you currently had or whatever, but here you go. And he just turns Tommy into the White Ranger. However, the White Ranger does not exist in Zoo Ranger. In fact, I don't remember what the series was after that, but the White Ranger belongs to the next Sentai series that came after Zoo Ranger.
Not even in the same show, they're cutting images out of.
Yeah, no, like so and what happened with that was Saban actually commissioned Toei, who was making Sentai at the time, commissioned Toei to basically combine the shows together for like extra B-roll footage because so he could keep Mighty Morphin going with his current continuity that he had going on. So the White Ranger, that's why his suit looks so different. He doesn't have like the mouthpiece. It's just the single Optimus Prime flap, as I call it. But that's why his suit looks so different. And if I'm not mistaken, I don't think the White Tiger Zord does anything with the Dino Megazord. And that's physically just because it couldn't.
It wasn't the same shot.
Yeah, not even in the same spectrum of show.
So something similar to that happened. So the first so let's get it. We'll get into this in just a second because I want to give a little bit of background on, you know, how this got made. Right. So Saban shopped the pitch around for a while. Right. He pitched around for like 5 years or something. He was trying to get these studios to pick this up. And eventually he met Margaret Loesch from Fox Kids. And Loesch was familiar with Sentai because, and this is cool. I liked this. She worked with Marvel, and Stan Lee was trying to get an Americanized Sun Vulcan, which was another Sentai Ranger, which is another Super Sentai section. He was trying to get that, you know, brought over to the US. And when she was with Marvel, you know, I guess she worked on, I don't know a ton about Margaret Loesch's background, but she was working for Fox Kids, met Saban. He told her about his idea for for this pitch. And so she ran off with it. So the execs that they pitched this stuff to together didn't really have a lot of faith in it, and essentially told them, all right, we're going to let you do a pilot and you can go do some focus group testing. And if it sucks, we're firing you, Loesch. Your head's on the chopping block for this one.
Oh, dang.
Yeah. And so they financed the pilot, which used the footage from Zoo Ranger. And the initial pitch was titled Galaxy Rangers. So it wasn't Mighty Morphin. It was Galaxy Rangers. And apparently it was a giant success. Obviously it was a giant success with the kids. And they were like, okay, well, we'll give you one season. Let's order 40 episodes. So they ordered 40 episodes of that. Like, we're going to do 40 episodes for a season. And then if it didn't do any good, they were going to kill it after that. But just the initial pitch or the initial ordering was 40 episodes of this thing.
Dang.
But it did so good, they ended up ordering an additional 20 episodes for that first season. So episodes 39 and 40, which were, that was the Doomsday run. Travis, is that when...
I think so. It's been a little bit.
That was when like they blew up the... Oh, God, what's it called where Zordon lives? Zordon's house, whatever.
The command center.
Yeah, the command center. They blew up the command center and stuff. They blew up Zordon's house.
Poor Zordon did.
Well, that's what it was. I mean, dude, he was essentially like in a fish tank. I assume, I mean, he literally looked like the heads from Futurama.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, it's just he was just in that tube, and all you could see was his head. It wasn't until the movie that we were able to see he had a body.
Yeah.
Now just imagine him as like Ronald Reagan, like from Futurama, just
Alpha's the headless body of Agnew. Bring me teenagers with her attitude. Yeah, but what I was getting at is, so for this background, when they ordered 20 new episodes, they had to get footage. So to get the 20 new episodes, they brought on Machiko Soga, who was Rita Repulsa's actress.
Yeah.
And brought her in when you were talking about she was the one that did some of the Americanized stuff. So this is when they brought her in to film new footage. But she couldn't mouth the dialogue. Like, she had so much trouble like doing the English for the dialogue. And so they ended up commissioning Toei, which was the production company for Super Sentai, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
to build
Sentai and a lot of others.
Yeah, I mean, Toei did like Pokemon. They did a lot of the Pokemon product and stuff. So that's another thing. If you guys have anybody out there,
Pokemon, Dragon Ball, Godzilla.
Yeah, check your old toys for the Toei imprint, and that's how you know if they're real or not. Because Toei stamped everything for the most part. But they commissioned Toei to produce 25 new monster costumes and new battle footage using the old Zoo Ranger suits.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that they could do 20 more episodes for season 1 of the Power Rangers of Mighty Morphin, which apparently it became a problem when they I guess in Mighty Morphin they introduced the Thunder Zords, right?
Yeah,
so they destroyed the Megazords.
Yeah.
And they got the Thunder Zords, which was that Ninja Force?
It would have been whatever the next. Well, no, actually, because they kept. Oh shoot! I started a YouTube video. By the way, just in case anybody is curious, there is a Power Rangers official YouTube channel that has basically every single season of Power Rangers on it, free to watch on YouTube. It's
Don't
got all season. Do what?
Don't watch that. Watch The Hills Have Nerds. Shut up.
Yeah,
Nerds. Quit telling people to do other stuff.
Watch The Hills Have Nerds first.
Yeah.
Okay, here's what you do. All right, here's exactly what you do. We're going to break from this for a second. Open 2 tabs, have one of them on as Power Rangers and have us in the other one. Mute us, but just keep the playlist on repeat so we get all those nice ad revenues from YouTube. Thanks, guys. Love you. What happened was Mighty Morphin kept going for a while. Mighty Morphin ran for 3 seasons, and that was counting the addition of the White Ranger. And they kind of just threw in like the other Sentai series for a while. We didn't get a new quote unquote Ranger series until Zeo, which was the end of the Mighty Morphin era, which Alien Rangers is thrown in there for a little while too. But Zeo was the next step. basically, where they're like, let's cut the Mighty Morphin thing because we're running out of like ideas. It's really hard to like use the costumes more and more and more. So they eventually were just kind of like, all right, let's move on to the next thing. Let's go to Zeo. It was still the same cast as Mighty Morphin, at least for the American side. But it was
wasn't
a whole
the same
new...
from the first. Like once they went into Zeo, because we're going to get into that.
Yeah, because there was a lot of changes and a whole bunch of other bad stuff. Yeah, which we'll get into here because oh boy.
So they started splicing together stuff from separate seasons of Sentai to try to make this stuff work, which is just cool. It's just cool to think about. You know, if you go back and watch, you can tell, right? If you kind of know, okay, that is obviously from something else because they're supposed to be fighting as a group, but they're showing 4 of them in one place and the other one's over here, and they're just kind of making it seem like he's in the same room, right? By studio magic, you know, which is what we do when we're on Discord. I mean, we're in the same room, not actually on Discord.
There is. I just want to message this right fast because it cracked me up when I went and watched it recently. There is a fight that they have against, I believe her name was Madame Woe, I believe was her name. And she was this siren enemy. She could sing and disrupt and do all this stuff. Well, for Power Rangers, they were having to go and save this girl, you know, that also went to Angel Grove High School or whatever. And there are just these moments where it's the Sentai footage, they're fighting against Madame Woe, and then it just cuts to this girl just standing in this random corner of a cave, just like, yeah, get her! And then it just cuts right back to the fighting. And what's even funnier about that is the aspect ratio, because the aspect ratio is different between Mighty Morphin and Sentai, so it's oh my god, it's a blast.
Lee, what do you think about all this? Participate.
Well, I think it's really interesting. It's particularly thinking about the what we call practical effects. Sorry, I just
listen to the clicks. Listen to the clicks. Let's see what he's fighting. See if we can tell what he's doing while he talks about it.
I'm running around in circles in the city. The practical effects thing is really neat to think about. I was like, man, I wonder if we could do something like that. We should do an episode. Or we build some little cities and like trash it and such. Be like, more Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. We can put Aaron in like a dumpster or whatever. He comes out and he's
Specifically,
like,
Aaron.
But it's always neat to see the practical effects stuff and thinking about how much was it costing these people to produce these episodes, especially if they were clipping in, videos from other shows or whatever else.
Oh yeah.
So it had to be low budget, right? Pretty low budget.
So that's kind of the next thing we're getting into is when we get into some of the controversy surrounding Power Rangers. So we talked about having the same cast going from Mighty Morphin to Zeo, and it was the same cast going from season 3 into Zeo for the most part, but going from season 1 into season 2, after the first 20 or so episodes, you had the Red Ranger, the Yellow Ranger, and the Black Ranger left. They bailed out. That was Austin St. John played the Red Ranger, played Jason. Tui Trang played Trini, and Walter Emmanuel Jones played Zach. And they left the show due to contract disputes. And
that's not entirely true with Tui Trang. Because, and this is a bit of a downer for the episode, but it needs to be brought up. Tui actually lost her life in a car accident. That's why she was taken off of the show.
Yeah,
she
Mighty Morphin, wasn't it?
Yeah, Tui died in 2001.
Yeah, she was in a car accident. She was actually riding with, she was a bridesmaid, and she was riding with the bride to be, and they got in a car accident. And she unfortunately lost her life when they got her to the hospital. I believe it was like an internal bleed, is what it was.
Yeah, but that was 10 years after she left the show.
Oh, okay.
6 years after she was off the show. So she died September 3rd, 2001. That's when she passed away. She left due to money.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. See, I was led to believe that it was also that she died shortly after Mighty Morphin.
Yeah, that's everything that I've ever read about it.
That makes sense because they weren't paying these kids anything, were they?
No,
compared to what they were making.
So they were making they all got, like, all of these people were young actors. They didn't have representation. They didn't have agents. They didn't have lawyers. They were trying to make money. They got these guys for a steal. They were making, and let's see what. So there's a quote from Austin St. John here somewhere. Let me find it real quick. So it was,
Paraphrasing
he
it
said,
down.
he said, I could have worked at the window at McDonald's and probably made the same money as the first season.
Yep.
Yep.
Wow.
So they were making non-union pay. They weren't union. They made the equivalent of about 60,000 without any kind of like compensation for merchandising or anything like. So they're making about $60,000 a year for this show, which in the middle of California, I mean, 60,000 is decent money, right? If you're here in Eastern Kentucky, and even now it's starting to get where it's not that decent, but you're in like California where the cost of living is crazy higher. And this show is worth. So the show was estimated to be worth $1 billion at the time.
Oh,
And they're paying them, I mean, it's like scraps, right? For what this show is worth with merchandising and everything else. It even says that Austin St. John was homeless for a time after leaving the show.
oh wow.
Like, so it says right here. So with the reasons for the departure debated for many years, because they ended up like, what was it, Travis? They made them, they said that those three ended up moving to Norway or something to represent Angel Grove, or
it was probably, I'm sure they had some.
it was the sub.
reason.
Jason, Trainee, and Zach left Angel Grove for the World Peace Conference. That's
World,
where
that's
they were
what, yeah,
going to
World Peace
represent
Conference.
Angel Grove, California, in the World Peace Conference, and that was made to bridge the transition for their replacements. Eventually, Amy Jo Johnson, who's the who played the Pink Ranger, she left in season 2, and then David Yost, who played Billy, he ended up leaving in during Power Rangers Zeo, and he said that he left because there were like it was just homophobia galore. David
he
Yost
had a rough time.
Yeah.
I know of.
Yeah. Apparently they tried to like prompt him to like undergo conversion therapy and stuff.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Amy Jo Johnson is, has been very, very vocal about her time on the Mighty Morphin set. And she hasn't held back in any of the things that I've like read or seen her in or whatever. She'll just tell you straight out, like it was awful working under Saban during that era. That was one of the reasons why, because they did what was the name of the Power Rangers movie that just came out recently? I'm such a fake fan. Why can I not think of the name of it?
I don't know.
I
Power Rangers new and improved.
Once and Always. That's what it was. It was the 30th anniversary special.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
Power
that
Rangers
is-
once and always. All of us Power Rangers all the time. All Power Rangers all the time.
Yeah, but David Yost and
Is it Yost or Yost?
I've always pronounced it as Yost. Maybe it's Yost. I've always pronounced it as
Got the
Yost.
breadth of human ingenuity or
Yeah.
breadth of human knowledge at our fingertips. How the hell do you pronounce this? This has a J, so it's like the Y and yes. This is literally I don't know how to pronounce. Like it's showing me it phonetically, and I don't even know what the hell this means phonetically. It's J-O, the omega symbol. It's T. I don't know what that means.
Gotta be careful about pronouncing it. You might awaken some kind of monstrosity on the moon.
Does
You're
he
knocking the
spell his
door
name
and
with wingdings?
They're knocking the door, and it's David Hughes. And yeah, it's all-
David
like
Yost
Beetlejuice.
and Walter Emmanuel Jones, the original Blue and Black Rangers, reprised their roles for Once and Always, but Amy Jo Johnson did not reprise her role, and she was basically just saying like, "Yeah, I'll never work directly for him again." She has since been working on a new comic series based on Mighty Morphin. It is known as The Return.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, that's cool.
What's his face? Austin St. John came back for some stuff too.
Yep.
Right.
He was the Gold Ranger in
Yeah, one of the newer ones.
Zeo. I think the Gold Ranger was in Zeo.
I don't know. I know there was. Didn't they do like a friggin' Avengers multiverse thing
Yep. Forever
relatively
Red.
recently?
Well, there was Forever Red, and then there was another like big multiverse. I don't remember the name of that one. But there was also one that was just known as Forever Red, which was every Red Ranger came together for that one.
So I was reading about this stuff, and there was one. So they did a thing where they combined. So they took like some of the older shows and some actors from the older shows, and had them show up, to help the current set of Rangers in some way. A la Avengers on your left, Cap. Everybody shows up to fight the big bad.
Yeah.
But canonically, one of the ones that show up was from, I want to say Speed or the SPD.
Mm-hmm.
And they show up. I think it might be RPM or Galaxy Quest or Electric Boogaloo or whatever the hell version of Power Rangers it is. And they, but canonically, like in the timeline,
Oh,
He
you got
was
me
supposed
with Electric Boogaloo.
Power Rangers Electric Boogaloo. They canonically in the timeline, it's having him come back to help, but he happens after. Or it's having him like come forward in time to help, but he happens after. Like this takes place before that. So he couldn't have came forward in time. Like the other ones came forward in time to help. He would have had to come back in time, but he was the only one. And it never
Time
says
travel.
anything about it. It's just, hey, we did this show before this current show. Look at this older Power Ranger, even though he's not really an older Power Ranger. This takes place in a different time frame.
Don't you just love when you get conflicting continuities?
Oh, Lord have
I,
mercy.
I just want to confirm it. It was the Gold Zeo Ranger that Jason.
Okay. I knew he was the Gold Ranger, just couldn't remember if he was in Zeo or not.
I feel like Power Rangers and just all the iterations of it are the absolute kings of continuity error.
Let's not talk about it.
Well, again, they are splicing, a show with their own stuff, and
I know, right?
but yeah, it
Dude.
really is. It's all over the place.
What was your all's favorite Power Rangers toy you had as a kid?
Oh man,
This is not my original one. I picked this up from the store, and I'm referring to the gaming company. I think you've said it a few times here and there that you've heard one of our guests that's been on the show, Nathan. That's my boss. I also work at the gaming company. But someone had traded in the original Dino Megazord, and like you can deconstruct it and put it into like the 5 regular Zords or whatever. And to this day, that is still one of my favorite, if not my absolute favorite, Power Rangers toy.
I actually didn't own a single Power Rangers toy growing up, despite enjoying the show.
I'm
I
sorry
didn't.
your parents didn't love you.
Yeah, that sucks. But it was say la vie. But now I was more into like turtles and stuff. So given a choice, I was choosing turtles over that. But
Yeah,
I
I
had
was always-
buddies that had like everything, dude. They had like the flute. I think the flute's the coolest thing. I know that's weird, but it was green. The green
Yep.
Power Ranger had the flute.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Dragon Flute.
Yeah,
That's
dude, that's
amazing.
so cool.
yeah, the Green Ranger was one of my favorites back in the days as well.
Everybody loved the green and white
Yeah.
Ranger, man. I went as the White Ranger for Halloween like 2 years in a row.
That
It
was
the
me,
bomb.
but it was the Red Ranger, and it was like 4 years in a row.
My man.
Those were the best years of his 20s.
I used to have Saba, the White Ranger's sword.
And I just sold one.
That's
to
also cool.
Yeah, the one that talked.
Yep.
But I think one of
Freaking
my
love Saba.
favorites, and I actually had to look up the name because I couldn't remember. It was the Megazord from the Space Rangers, and it's called the Deluxe Astro Megazord. It was
Yes.
like their huge space station that turned into the Megazord, and it was really cool. And it's probably one of my favorite ones.
Thing was so cool. I had one when I was younger, and I've never seen it again. But usually, whenever I see toys for the Astro Megazord, he's this really bright blue.
Yeah.
And you can just you tell very much that he's just made out of plastic. But the one that I had as a kid was like not necessarily metal, but it was a much darker. It was like a navy blue, and it had like gold inlays and stuff on it instead of like the normal ones. I don't know if I, as a kid, just got like the ultra mega super deluxe version of this toy, but I friggin' loved it. It was one of the coolest ones.
Cody, you didn't have any?
No, I only watched like an episode or two. So I had some TMNT stuff, but
Yeah.
To interject, I just remembered there was a toy that I liked better than the original Megazord.
What was it?
It was the I don't remember what the name of it was, but it was the Zord of the Quantum Ranger from Time Force.
This isn't Mighty Morphin. We're getting all kinds of off of
You
topic
just
here.
said, what is your favorite Power Rangers?
Yeah, but I mean
Boy.
that I'm the only one that matters. Mighty Morphin.
No.
I'm
You
not
Power
going to have you
Rangers, Electric Boogaloo.
I mean,
I'm not going to have you
Morphin-
I'm not going to have you disrespect Dino Thunder like that.
Dino Thunder, Lord.
But it
Power
just
Rangers,
the
Chocolate Thunder.
chocolate rain.
the
But
Brown Ranger.
just
I'm sure there was one.
Dude, that sounds like some kind of excellent ice cream.
Brown
Brown
Ranger.
Yeah.
it's like moose tracks, but a lot more brown.
Oh,
But anyways, the quantum one, just to get this out of my system right fast. The toy was super cool because it was controlled by a remote that looked like the morpher of the Quantum Ranger, and you could like input codes, and this thing had wheels, and you could like input a code and it would like move forward on its own. You could input another code and it would like transform into its like Megazord form. It had freaking projectiles that it could fire out. It had a rail cannon that you could press a button, it'd light up and do sound effects. Anyways, if we're just looking at Mighty Morphin, it's the original Megazord toy. If we're looking at all Power Ranger stuff, that thing.
if we're talking just Mighty Morphin, I actually had the Rangers. It was like the figures of the Rangers themselves, and they had a little thing on the back, and their head would flip and go into them, and they would turn into their like suit helmet. But they would always have their suit on.
Yeah.
It would just be like their head would change into the helmet. And that's it.
Dude, I had the gloves. You could put the gloves on, and when you karate
yeah.
chop, they made a karate chop sound. And that was like the peak of human ingenuity. It's like technology has come far enough. We are truly in the space age. I can karate chop, and it makes the whoosh sound. It was the best.
My cousin had the swords, like the weapons, and they would actually make the clang sound when they hit.
You could I had a set, and I think it was Zeo. And Travis, when you and I were going through that stuff, I
Going
brought
down to
down.
Mighty
Well, you
Morphin.
guys were talking about it.
Yeah,
And you'd like, and it was like a gun, but it would connect all the weapons to it.
Yeah.
And you connected all to it. And it was like the most impractical friggin' thing you've ever felt in your life. Like this, you would laugh at someone who threatened you with this monstrosity.
We spent what, like 30, 40 minutes trying to figure that stupid thing out.
yeah. I
That's
never
great.
owned it, but I seen the toy that you're talking about.
Yeah. Dude, those some of the older figures did not hold value super well.
Yeah.
The bikes, like the power bikes, I guess they just made so many of them.
Yeah.
They're super cheap, man. And some of them held pretty good.
So what is like the gold, like what is the big one? What's the big toy that's the most expensive
Megazord.
one? Is
Megazord. I think Megazord, the White Line, Dragon Zord, Titanazord. They're Titanus. I think his name. I don't think it was the Titanazord. I think his name was Titanus
Yeah, it was just Titanus.
or Titanius or something like that. Those are big ones. The dragon flute and the Saban. I think they named the friggin' sword after Saban, right? Or Saba.
Saba, yeah.
Saba was the White Ranger sword. I think if you have those in good working condition, they're worth a couple $100.
Yeah.
But the Megazord, like an original, all in the box, looking good Megazord is pretty decent. I mean, it's nothing like monstrously crazy. I don't think. I think you're probably looking at like a few $100, probably up towards $1,000.
So I know we haven't talked about the movie yet, but I was looking at toys, and I forgot that they changed the Zords for like after it were ninjas, because it's technically Mighty Morphin still. They just went to ninjas. If I'm correct,
Yeah,
pretty
that was
sure.
in the movie.
Yeah,
Because they
and-
destroyed the Zord and then they got the
Yeah.
beast, like the frog and stuff.
Yeah, well, they have like the Black Ranger got the frog, the Blue Ranger got a wolf,
And
the
there's an
Yellow
ape.
Ranger got a bear,
Yep.
and the
Red Ranger got the ape, got the gorilla.
Pink Ranger, it has he was a gorilla. In this picture, he's just like a samurai guy.
No, the Red Ranger got the gorilla.
Yeah,
And
that's
then
what,
what'd the Pink Ranger get?
it was a bird, wasn't it?
Is a crane.
Crane, yeah.
Yeah, she got a crane, and Tommy got the Falcon. Got the Falcon Zord.
Oh yeah. The White Ranger got the Falcon.
Yeah, White Ranger got the
that's
Falcon
right.
Zord.
Yeah,
God, these were so cool. I mean, it's just designed to make kids want. I'm sitting here, I'm a 36-year-old man, and I'm like, man, I wish I still had my Power Rangers toys. Wish I didn't sell all that stuff. I love it.
I just looked at the Ninja Falcon Megazord and I'm just like, oh
Yeah.
god,
Right?
oh, nostalgia.
That's one I had actually. I actually had the Falcon.
That's where I just sold one of those for a decent amount.
Really?
Yeah,
Do
a couple
tell.
hundred, I think. Yeah, I mean, mine was in great shape. Again, like we didn't. Young Josh was anal retentive, so stuff's in decent shape. It just got kept
Young
up,
Aaron
box
was like,
good.
"It's made to play. Let's do it."
Oh, I played the crap out of it. I mean, we took a bunch of pieces down to things. All right, let's move on with the conversation. Anybody else have anything to say about what we've talked about so far before we talk about some sadder stuff?
I was just going to mention right fast because I did have it pulled up. Die Ranger was the series that came after Zoo Rangers. That's where the White Ranger came from, was Die Ranger.
It's a Super Sentai.
Yeah, that was
series.
Sentai.
Yeah. All right. Cool. A little bit of trivia about Power Rangers being censored. So Power Rangers aired before content ratings were a thing, right? So the FCC ended up getting a ton of complaints from concerned parents over violence being depicted. In 1994, the New Zealand Broadcasting Standards Authority received several complaints and ended up upholding those, and didn't air the show, like pulled it before its second season. But the complaints were, and this is quote, concerning that the show portrayed violence as the primary means of resolving conflict, and that it was influencing children to behave more violently. And you know what? Yeah.
What year was this? I'm sorry.
This is 94.
Oh, wow.
That violence was the primary means to solve conflict. And that pretty much, like,
I
that's
think so.
what the Power Rangers did. Like, if you're going to start some trouble, we're going to kick your ass.
Sometimes that's what you need.
They were angsty teens. I mean,
I was just about to say they were teenagers with attitude. I mean, what else are they going to do?
But what about the theme song?
And they all took karate.
What about the lyrics to the theme song? Do you guys know the lyrics to the theme song?
There's only one lyric that matters,
No.
which is Go Go Power Rangers.
Yeah.
No, verse 2 says, they know the fate of the world is lying in their hands. They know to only use their weapons for defense.
Yeah.
What horse crap.
They started it first.
There were so many of those monsters that it was on sight. They're just down the second they saw them. Goldar rolls up. They ain't asking questions. They're just whooping ass. That's all.
I don't.
I mean,
granted,
okay. Go on with what you're going to say, Aaron.
I was gonna say I don't remember a lot of episodes. It's been a very long time since I watched any kind of Power Rangers, but I don't remember anywhere the Power Rangers showed up and started fighting first. The bad guy always started it. I want to point out. No,
I think I watched them ambush a group of a putty family, a caravan of migrant putty. And they ambushed them.
No. I'm going to stop you right there. Just stop.
Like they were a UN care package truck, and they were Israelis. They just ambushed.
I'm going back
right on the road.
page.
Imperialistic White Ranger, big surprise.
Are you
This
telling
ain't
me
a buddy town.
Are you telling me if you walked up and saw something called Pudgy Pig eating actually everything in sight, you wouldn't be like, all right, I guess we got to take this thing down?
I'm not saying they're wrong for it. I'm just saying they didn't only use it for defense. They used it to, take some names. The people knew they were there.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair.
They started some of it. Han shot, Red Ranger shot first.
Go on with
Speaking
your
of,
next talking point.
Speaking of Red Ranger shooting first, Ricardo Medina Jr. played the Red Ranger in Power Rangers Wild Force. He killed his roommate with a sword over a fight about how his girlfriend parked her car.
You're getting out of the Mighty Morphin again.
Yeah, I just thought that was
you got onto us.
Some Red Ranger trivia.
Hey, does it say when this happened? The 1994 issue with the violence?
It just says in
1994.
1994.
I was curious because, like, the ESRB was founded in 1994 as well. So
that probably has a lot to do with it.
Like,
Yeah,
cause
it
some
was-
stank,
I'm gonna say
Yeah.
because it was founded in '94, but it was through a congressional hearing in '93, which is whenever
Okay.
Power Rangers was released in '93. Yeah.
Yeah.
At least here, yeah.
Yeah, August 28th, 1993. So when Power Rangers first started, there was no ESRB, no ratings commission.
They never showed any blood or anything. I mean, every time they hit something, it exploded. Instead.
Yeah, I mean, for the longest time, I thought if you hit a garbage can with a sword, it was going to light up like the 4th of July. It's going to go off.
You mean yours doesn't?
Like, that was the coolest thing. Break subject for just a second and advocate for violence in children's TV shows, I guess. That was the coolest thing. Like, let's be real. They'd walk up, they'd freaking punch a putty, and they just explode.
Yeah.
And it's, freaking kids sitting there eating their 95% sugar cereals on Saturday mornings. Who wouldn't be into that?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, it was a way to get around blood, and it was a cool way to do it.
It's a lot better than how some anime have been doing it recently. I don't know if y'all have seen that. Have you seen it, Josh?
What?
There's some anime in China.
Because they can't show blood and they make it white and it looks like it's dumb.
Yeah.
It's so dumb.
I like how the visual
I
novel.
like it.
No, I like how the visual novel series Danganronpa does it. This is very off topic. I just the ADHD riddled brain. Danganronpa actually has it censored to be like a bright pink, like Power Ranger pink. Actually, it's a cool aesthetic choice. I really like it. Anyways, let's get back onto Power Rangers.
Yeah,
I think that anybody have any closing thoughts? Because we're right at an hour and a half, right around there. Anybody having any closing thoughts about Power Rangers, the relationship with Power Rangers? What we think of Power Rangers? What about the movie? Anybody watch that new movie, like the new movie that came out recently?
I have not actually. I
Nope.
think I caught it on TV once.
I have a lot of issues with that movie.
Yeah, my biggest issue with it was I didn't care for how they did Goldar. And again, I like Goldar, and I know it's supposed to be like it's kind of an interesting way. I just hate that they did my man Goldar that way.
I didn't like. I haven't seen the movie, but I've read a lot of things about the movie. And I just
I have no opinions of myself, but let me what other people have done.
Well, no, like
I haven't seen this, but I'm going to talk on it.
Yeah, seriously. I didn't see the movie, but I was reading like the general plot points of the movie, and so in the movie, Zordon was the original. Like, we're going back millions, billions of years or whatever in this time frame. He was the original Red Ranger.
Okay.
And Rita was the Green Ranger. And then he had like his whole other, I don't know if the other Rangers get like mentioned as to like who they were, but basically, Rita wants to overthrow them, and Zordon with the last of his energy like seals her away and stuff like that. And I didn't like the fact that it was like, well, that's not the point. Like, it's weird to have Zordon have been a Power Ranger instead of just being this being connected to the morphing grid. And I really don't like Rita being the Green Ranger. That just feels
Wrong.
yeah, like we needed a villain, and the Green Ranger was a villain in the TV show, and so was Rita. So let's just put them together.
Yeah.
It just didn't sit right with me.
Now, this is still like this movie. I haven't watched it either, so I don't want to say whether it's bad or good or whatever. But this is still very much aimed at children, right? Like these are it's here to reboot the franchise to sell some more toys, right?
No, it's
children.
For me,
it's not here for dudes pushing 40.
I wouldn't necessarily say children. Well, okay, this is gonna sound like a weird question. Like when you say like this is aimed at children, like what age range do you normally think of?
It's for teens with attitude.
No, honestly,
parents that have kids who grew up with Power Rangers, so they'll spend their money on their kids.
Yeah.
And that really does feel like the demographic. It was kind of like a grab at your nostalgia, like you're going to take your kids to see it, as the cover up, but in fact, you're the one that wants to see it the most.
Well, I think a lot of the nostalgia grabs are like that. Like Beetlejuice. My kids just recently went and watched that. I mean, they said it was really good, but that's kind of the thing, right? Like we're doing these nostalgia grabs, and now you have kids that are of age to consume this and grow up with it, and they'll take their children when we inevitably beat this dead horse further down the road.
I also just didn't like the Zords. Like, I don't know, this weird, I don't know what the word is. Like, they were almost like nanobots. Like, you know how in Infinity War, when Tony Stark debuts his new suit and he just like hits the button and they are just kind of like, or his armor just like coalesces around him. That's what the Zords are like in the movie.
And that's better than like in the first movie when they got their new armor, where it was the same armor, it just sparkled.
Yeah. Well, they actually had armor in that movie. And also, fun fact about that movie, when they were originally going to shoot that movie, the Rangers were not going to have their mouthpieces or their visors. They were just going to film without them because they thought that's what it was supposed to be.
The first Power Rangers movie, the Avenues?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh, that would have been gross.
Yeah. There's a couple of pictures that exist online about it, and it's weird. Yeah. Also, my phone keeps turning on my microphone and recording all of it that I'm saying.
All right. So new Power Rangers movie. Think none of us have actually watched it, but we saw it. I mean that's how good it was. None of us who have sat here and talked for an hour and a half about Power Rangers actually watched the new one. That's how much it attracted us.
Like I said,
it was indeed a movie.
I caught the final fight on TV one time, and I was like, they mentioned Goldar, and I was like, is that supposed to be Goldar?
Yeah, because he's just like a walking golden statue.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, things happen. Our childhood gets raped and bastardized, and that's just how this happens.
I see you've got in the show notes here, just to finish off on some stuff. Sitting next to my Megazord is it's this little inbox figure of a Megazord, not like it was something that a friend of mine picked up for like $15 at Walmart. But I took it down to Lexington Comic-Con in 2022, 23. I don't remember what year it was, but a ton of the original cast was there, and I got a bunch of them to sign it. And so David Fielding, who was Zordon, like the head in the tube, he was there. He was awesome. Jason Frank was there. Yeah, he got out. But there was that. But the highlight of that for me was, and you can't talk about Power Rangers without talking about the two greatest characters to exist in a kids' TV show, which is Bulk and Skull. They were
funded.
they were the school bullies. At least they tried to be. But they were just the most comic relief characters. But they weren't done so in a bad way. It was, to me, anyways, they were legitimately funny. It always felt like they got what was coming to them, but not in a evil way, just enough to just be like, oh man, like Swiper, oh man. But I got to meet them at that Comic-Con, and they were some of the chillest guys that I have ever met. I have a picture of Paul Schreier, who's Bulk, flipping me off. So that's great.
It's actually at Paul Schreier's house when
Yeah.
Travis was trying to climb him.
Yeah.
Oh, Paul
kinda
Schreier,
showed up.
great guy. Yeah, he only maced me a little bit.
I actually used to get them mixed up all the time with Donkey Lips and Sponge from Salute Your Shorts.
Oh my god.
Oh wow.
I know that
Oh.
sounds weird, but it's like it was just kind of that duo of like goofy guys that are kind of the bullies or whatever.
Amp on the wanna, we hold you in our hearts. And when we think about you, it makes me wanna fart
It's in our heart. Get it right.
or pay the price.
Since we're just on the closing things here, just a few other things that I wanted to mention was there's been an extensive comic book run about Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and I highly, if you're into Power Rangers, like if you've been sitting here listening to us jabber on about it and you've never read the comics, I highly recommend you go and check out the comics. There's a lot of really cool stuff that they do in there. One of my favorite storylines comes from the comics. Which is this idea of what if Tommy never became a good guy? What if he stayed with Rita? And he becomes Lord Drakon.
Lord Dragon.
And he ends up like combining his green and white powers together. And he does a lot of other, I don't want to spoil what happens in that comic line story because it's just so good.
I think you'll be all right if you want.
Just the small notes in it is essentially what he's doing is he is dimension hopping, going through all of these other Rangers and stealing their morphers and killing them. But that's, we don't care about that. He's stealing their morphers and he becomes the morphing grid. Like he overloads his own morpher with every other Ranger's morpher and essentially just becomes one with the morphin grid. It is such a cool storyline.
Now, see, Thanos did that in the original, Infinity Saga, and that didn't work out for Thanos. So I don't know if it's going to work out for Tommy.
But yeah, highly. There's the comic series is a little weird because there's the Mighty Morphin series, which takes place at some point during the show, but no one really knows. And then there's Go-Go Power Rangers, which is like a soft reboot in a way.
Yeah,
it was
that
a way
ABC, right? ABC did that went for a season.
Well, this was the comic series.
Oh, and I thought ABC did like an actual reboot of Mighty Morphin that just didn't take ground. Like
They
in the
may
mid-2000s.
Go-Go Power Rangers, the comic series, was basically the comics way of giving the origin story, I guess is the way to describe it. That sounds weird to describe it like that, but that's essentially what it was. As like I mentioned earlier, Amy Jo Johnson, the original Pink Ranger, she's working on her own series now. I'm pretty sure it's with Boom, who does the other Mighty Morphins. It's called The Return, and I haven't read it. I've read the very first issue. I haven't got a chance to read through my other issues yet, but I really like the story of it. They actually
to all that in the show notes too.
Yeah. It basically turns into Trini's daughter, because Trini is canonically dead in the series. And it turns into like Trini's daughter searching out the other Rangers to be like, hey, you all used to be a Power Ranger. My mom was a Power Ranger. I need some info. And I think it's working on maybe making her the next Yellow Ranger. I don't know that for a fact yet, but another really good storyline. The comics have been great. Highly recommend those.
Didn't they fight Godzilla in the comics?
Yes, there's actually there's a second version of, or not version, but there's a sequel to that right now. Actually, Godzilla versus the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. And let me tell you something. At least in the second series, I don't know if that happened in the first series. In the second series, they become the Kaiju Rangers.
That's
and
about right.
The Pink Ranger's Zord actually turns into a mechanized version of Mothra.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's so cool. I need to sit down and read through that series. It's just everything a nerd could love. People in rubber suits written into colorful pages, getting into fights and being generally violent. That's what it means to be a nerd, right?
Just being generally violent, yeah.
Yeah.
On the internet, especially.
In rubber suits.
I think that's a different bit of nerddom. I think that's more like the Ron Jeremy nerddom. And we brought it back to the beginning.
I was going to say, as we've shown, there's a lot.
Yeah. All right. I think we've said a lot about Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and hopefully everybody learned something about the history of the Power Rangers and how that came to be and what they are. And if you don't know the Power Rangers, if you don't have, if you weren't part of the Power Rangers culture growing up, or that movement of young people getting into fighting each other, and it was morphin time and all that, do yourself a favor, check out some of the contemporary stuff, especially the comics. The comics are really good. As Travis has went on and said, it's just fun, man. It's cool to look into, cool to check out. The shows, the TV shows don't hold up. So probably wouldn't suggest going on like a Power Rangers watching spree.
Debatable, but
Depends on
everyone
what's
has
there.
their opinions.
No, but there's some good stuff out there. But if you want to talk to us about Power Ranger, if you want to know who our favorite Power Ranger is, if you want to know who we feel like what color Power Ranger we would be, or you want to tell us who your favorite Power Ranger is, if you want to tell us what your favorite type of Power Ranger is, you can email us at heelshavenerds@gmail.com. You can come on our Facebook. Just search facebook.com, go to facebook.com, search the Heels Have Nerds. You can find us on YouTube. Search the Heels Have Nerds on YouTube. We try to post some video content every now and then, if we remember to. And then you can join our Discord. Come hang out in the holler with us and talk all kinds of nerd stuff, because it's always nerding time in the holler. Lee, where can the people find you?
Mostly you can find me on YouTube at youtube.com/pixelbrolee. I'm on also Twitch at pixelbrolee and every other social media you can think of aside from Twitter. But yeah, I would like hearing about that sort of stuff too, hearing about nostalgia. That's kind of what I focus on.
And currently you can find him on World of Warcraft.
No, I'm actually editing video now because ADHD demands many things.
I understand.
Cody, where can the people find you?
I'll mainly be hanging out in our Discord channel, so you can hop in there and probably catch me just about any time. But other than that, I am on Twitch at twitch.tv/Coffee Break Lounge.
Aaron, how about you?
I'll probably be downtown fighting kaijus, I guess.
Nah,
least-
don't let him lie to you. He's going to be in the dumpster.
Dumpster diving.
What was the name of the Shake Shack they hung out at all the time? Or the smoothie shop?
Yeah.
Ernie's
The Good
something.
Burger.
It was Ernie's.
Ernie.
Yeah.
The Good Burger.
Yeah.
Home of the Good Burger.
Pretty much. Travis, where can the people find you? And it's so great for you to finally be on an episode, and this will not be the last episode that you will hear Travis on. Travis is part of the Heels Have Nerds. He's core member of the group. He just does a thankless job in the shadows most of the time.
They can't find him. They can't find him anywhere. I'm going to lock him away in the basement again.
Yeah, you better. You better.
You can find me on this really cool podcast called The Hills Have Nerds. But yeah, I'll be in the Discord. I'm a bit of a lurker when it comes to that kind of stuff. So if I don't immediately message you, just go ahead and assume that I hate your guts. You can also find me as you can find me on Twitter. That's really, unfortunately, the only social media that I use. You can find me at Chocobo STO. That is CHOCOBO STO.
Yeah, and same thing for the other guys in the Discord. Xlax in the Discord is Aaron. Coffee Break is Cody in the Discord. Pixel Bro Lee is Pixel Bro Lee. And I am Josh, parentheses, THHN, in the Discord. Close parentheses.
Where's your special name?
Well, I was Winkster for a long time, but I wanted people to know that it was me.
I intentionally don't want people to know it's me, but I've been announced now.
Well,
Oh man, that would have been good. Like Power Rangers THHN.
yeah. If it matters,
the NERDIN grid.
for the Discord, if it matters, you can just at the nerds, and it'll get all 5 of us. I think Travis is included in that.
Yeah.
Well, look at that.
If you get a moment, leave a review. We really appreciate it on whatever podcatcher you're using to listen to the show, whether you listen to us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, iTunes, Podcast to Capture, whatever you got. Take a moment, give us a review, give us a share if you enjoy the show. It really helps people find us and keeps us up on those podcast rankings. Again, thank you all so much. And from all the nerds, I think that's us.